Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Agnana Timirandasya Dhananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtra Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavatir Naishiki. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Once again, Hare Krishna, everyone. So today's topic, as mentioned, is on the caste system, and whether one's caste is determined by one's birth or whether it's determined by one's actions. What does the Bhagavad Gita say? So as mentioned by my father, it is quite a touchy topic, especially for those of us from an Indian origin. It is also a very hotly, nowadays, a very hotly contested topic. Obviously, for anyone, one of the biggest things that anyone associates with India is the caste system, especially from Western countries, etc. And it's generally portrayed in quite a bad light, as per today's standards. So in today's realizations, I'll try and explore how the present-day caste system is actually a degradation of the original caste system, which is called Varnashram. Then I'll also we'll try and understand how, by applying the words of Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, we actually understand that the whole world is following the original caste system, even today. Then I'll also lastly touch on some examples of that prove caste is actually according to one's actions. And I'll take this proof from present day scenarios, and also from the Vedas, Vedic proof, which is obviously something that we would require in order to put forth the argument. So just very quickly before we get into the philosophy, what do people usually view the current day caste system as? Very simply, without getting too much into all the semantics, generally people actually view it as a battle of classes. So the high class versus the low class. Someone born of a low class is oppressed. The high class has more power over them, and it's all decided by one's birth. This is a major thing that this is a major narrative that has been pushed forward, is that that one's caste is determined by one's birth. In other words, it is hereditary. So, for example, if you're born of a high caste or of a Brahmin, or if you're born into a Brahmin family, then you automatically should be considered a Brahmana based on your birth. It's regardless of how you act as a person. It's regardless of the qualities you have, regardless of the actions you take. You are always a Brahmana because you were born into a Brahmin family. In the same way, if you're born into a lower class family, you are considered to be lower class, regardless of your own abilities, regardless of your actions, regardless of your behavior, etc., etc. Ultimately, it's a label that is always attached to you just because of your birth. So obviously, this leads to discrimination based on one's caste. That's how we see, the high class versus low class, the power struggle. And that's a notion which is very much associated. It's a heavy notion which is associated with the caste system. But what we'll find is actually this so-called caste system is absolutely not what the scriptures say at all. There's no mention of a hereditary caste system in the Bhagavad Gita. In fact, there is something quite opposite. So to begin our discussion, what exactly does the Bhagavad Gita say about the caste system or the social order? So this verse that I'm going to quote is a verse that a lot of the senior devotees here know very much. Srila Prabhupada has quoted it many times to defend this point. And it's chapter 4, verse 13. So because it's the main verse of today's discussion, in which the premise of our entire realization is built on, I will be reading the verse, I'll be reading the translation, as well as the purport. So this is chapter 4, verse 13 of the Bhagavad Gita. Chatur varnyam maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagasaha tasya kartaram apimam vidya kartaram avyayam. Chatur varnyam maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagasaha tasya kartaram apimam vidya kartaram avyayam. Chatur varnyam maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagasaha tasya kartaram apimam vidya kartaram avyayam. Word to word synonyms by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This is also very important for this verse specifically. Chatur varnyam, the 4 divisions of human society. Maya, by me. Shrishtam, created. Guna, quality. I think my father's sharing the screen, so you can all read from the screen as well. So I'll begin again. Chatur varnyam, the 4 divisions of human society. Maya, by me. Shrishtam, created. Guna, quality. Karma, work. Vibhagashaha, in terms of division. Tasya, of that. Kartaram, the father. Api, although. Mam, me. Vidhi, you may know. Akartaram, as the non-doer. Avyayam, being unchangeable. So the 4 divisions of human society by me, created. Quality, work, in terms of division. Of that, the father, although me, you may know as the non-doer, being unchangeable. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. According to the 3 modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the 4 divisions of human society were created by me. And although I am the creator of the system, you should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Lord is the creator of everything. Everything is born of him. Everything is sustained by him, and everything after annihilation rests in him. He is therefore the creator of the 4 divisions of the social order, beginning with the intelligent class of men, technically called Brahmanas, due to their being situated in the mode of goodness. Next is the administrative class, technically called the Shattriyas, due to their being situated in the mode of passion. The mercantile men, called the Vaishyas, are situated in the mixed modes of passion and ignorance, and the Shudras, or laborer class, are situated in the ignorant mode of material nature. In spite of his creating the 4 divisions of human society, Lord Krishna does not belong to any of these divisions, because he is not one of the conditioned souls, a section of whom form society, a section of whom form human society. Human society is similar to any other animal society, but to elevate men from the animal status, the above-mentioned divisions are created by the Lord for the systematic development of Krishna consciousness. For this particular class, realizations, this next point is very important. The tendency of a particular man toward work is determined by the modes of material nature which he has acquired. Such symptoms of life, according to the different modes of material nature, are described in the 18th chapter of this book. A person in Krishna consciousness, however, is above even the Brahmanas, because a Brahmana by quality is supposed to know about Brahman, the supreme absolute truth. Most of them approach the impersonal Brahman manifestation of Lord Krishna, but only a man who transcends the limited knowledge of a Brahmana and reaches the knowledge of a supreme personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, becomes a person in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, a Vaishnava. Krishna consciousness includes knowledge of all different plenary expansions of Krishna, namely Ram, Nrsimha, Varaha, etc. However, as Krishna is transcendental to the system of the four divisions of human society, a person in Krishna consciousness is also transcendental to all divisions of human society, whether we consider the divisions of community, nation, or species. So already from this verse, we can see that actually a Vaishnava, or someone who practices Krishna consciousness, transcends these four divisions, or these four class divisions. But just to keep it to the point here, from the purport we understand that the four divisions of the social order, or the so-called caste system, but actually called the social order system, this is termed Varnashram, or Brahman. This is comprised of four divisions: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Now, Lord Krishna in the translation says that according to the three modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the four divisions of human society were created by me. The three modes of material nature, as Prabhupada explains, are goodness, passion, and ignorance. So our interaction with the three modes of material nature, that automatically places us in one of the four divisions created by Lord Krishna. Now, our interaction, meaning how we behave, what qualities we exhibit in the world, and however way we act, materially, spiritually, largely materially, that interaction places us within these four divisions. Now, another very important point is actually in the Sanskrit itself, in the verse itself. Lord Krishna says, Guna Karma Vibhagasa. So from the purport we understand, Prabhupada does not mention anything to do with one's birth, to do with if you're born of a certain caste, that means that you are that caste. Actually, Krishna says that. Krishna says, Guna Karma Vibhagasa. Guna, as we see in the words for its synonyms, guna means quality. Karma means type of activity based on the three modes, as Prabhupada has also mentioned. So here it's given as work, and Prabhupada has further explained about this verse that karma means one's activity based on the three modes of material nature. So one's quality determines one's social class and their activities as well. Hence, it's vibhagasa, the division into the social class. Lord Krishna does not say janma karma vibhagasa. Lord Krishna does not say birth defines one's class. Krishna says quality and the type of activity. So from this verse itself, we can already understand that Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says that your quality determines your caste. If someone is born into a lower class family, as the example we gave before of the current caste system, or the degraded caste system, this is completely different. If someone is born into a lower class family, so-called lower class, if they're inclined towards Brahmanical qualities, or if they exhibit Brahmanical qualities, they can be trained up to be a Brahmana. However, if you're born into a Brahmin family, but you have no inclination towards Brahmanical qualities, then according to this verse, you're not a Brahmana, because it's not the qualities that you are portraying or exhibiting. So a person who is born into a certain caste but does not perform that caste, if someone is born into a higher caste, and they do not perform activities associated with the caste, then they're called Dvija Bandhu, which Srila Prabhupada explains. So Srila Prabhupada says that a person born in a high family, a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or at least a Brahmana or a Kshatriya, if they're not qualified to be a Brahmana or Kshatriya, then they're Dvija Bandhu. We can also think of it as an example, this entire concept, that if one's parent, or one's father, or if one's mother is a lawyer, that does not automatically make us a lawyer, right? We have to do a degree. We have to actually go through the process of becoming a lawyer. We cannot assign that label to ourselves. in the same way one's caste. So with that being said, obviously, this is also a very important point to note, that does not mean that your birth has absolutely no influence on your caste. Why are you born into a family with a certain caste, or a lower or high caste, etc.? That is obviously due to your past karma. Your environment is influenced by your past karma. So, say due to good karma accumulated in your past life, if you're born into a Brahmanical family, the point is you are likely to be attracted to it. If you're performing, devotional service, if you're trying to understand scriptures, which is typical of a Brahmanical family, then you may be attracted to it. But the point is that it is your action of doing. It's your attractedness to it. Why are you attracted to these activities? What qualities do you have that make you attracted to it? That is what is the importance. So your birth has an influence on the outcome of what caste you are, but it is not the outcome itself. Based on your good karma, based on your bad karma, you're placed into a certain position. But what you do from then forward, that is what determines who you are. So from this verse, we've understood what the original social order is of the Varnashram. We understand that Lord Krishna says that it's actually your quality or your actions that you take which determines the social divisions and how you interact with the three modes of material nature. So I just wanted to kind of get into what exactly are these qualities that characterize a Brahmana, that characterize a Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, etc. It's important to understand what these qualities are, so that we know, where we are and where we wish to go. So these Prabhupada actually mentions in the purport that these are explained in the 18th chapter. In particular, these are in the 18th chapter, verse number 42, 43, and 44. Now, I will just, the verses have no purport, so I'll read the verses once and the translation. So chapter 18, verse 42, which describes the Brahmanas. Shamo dhamastapah shaucham kshantir arjavam evacha gnanam vignanam astikyam brahma karma svabhavajam. Translation by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So these are the qualities of Brahmanas: peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. So I'll quickly repeat that. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. Chapter 18, verse 43. Again, here, absolutely no mention of birth. These are the qualities. So every step of the way, we see that this is a complete degradation. The present society or the present caste system is a complete degradation of what originally was spoken by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 18, verse 43, which describes the Shattriyas. Shauryam tejo dhitir daksham yudhe chapya palayanam dhanam ishvara bhavascha kshatram karma svabhavajam. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. I'll repeat that once more. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. Now we'll go straight into chapter 18, verse 44, which describes the Vaishyas and Shudras. Krishi Goraksha Nijam Vaishya Karma Svabhavajam Paricharyatmakam Karma Shudrasyapi Svabhavajam. Farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work for the Vaishyas. And for the Shudras, there are labor and service to others. So from these qualities, we can see that, where we are situated as people. Prabhupada has also mentioned in the Chaturvarnya Mayashishtam verse that the Brahmanas are situated in the mode of goodness, the Kshatriyas in the mode of passion, the Vaishyas in the mode of passion and ignorance, and the Shudras in the mode of ignorance. So these qualities, by the way, for reference for anyone, chapter 18, verse 42 and 44, maybe we can look back on it and see, in more detail, try and understand what these are and what these qualities mean to us. So we actually can see that this is for anyone in the world to see what type of division they fit into, what type of division people around them fit into. It's not limited to just India. And Prabhupada very nicely explains that, every society has an intelligent class of people, because not everyone in society is equally intelligent. There are obviously categories of intelligence. There are categories of work. There are categories of what people are associated with, what people are attracted to. So there is, of course, a category of people that are intelligent or Brahmanical in nature. Obviously, they may not have the spiritual inclination, but if we talk just strictly about the 4 divisions, that there are people who are more intelligent, who fall into this division. There are people who are good at administration, who are very resourceful, which are qualities characterized by Kshatriyas. People who are very good at business, farming, cow protection, etc., which is associated with Vaishyas, and people who are very good at physical labor, who construction, infrastructure, etc., etc., in whatever situation it is. So we see that actually this is present everywhere. These qualities are present everywhere. These qualities aren't only present in India. So if we actually look at it, that there is some form of this division in the whole world. Obviously, it is not pure. It is not a pure, representation of this division. But there is everywhere, according to one's own karmas, according to how people are. Everyone is at a different level. And these levels always fall into these 4 divisions, which is created by Lord Krishna. Obviously, Krishna has created it. And so it's natural to fall into these 4 divisions. But because we are not following these varnas properly, currently, it is a degradation of society. Now, Srila Prabhupada has actually very nicely explained how the current society is a degradation of the original varnashram system. And he explains this in the purport of the Srimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 21, verse 52 to 54. I'm not going to read the whole purport as it's quite long, but I will read a few points from it, which is a very, very important. It's a very important reference as to how it was before and how now it is a complete contrast. Srila Prabhupada says, it is the duty of a responsible king to protect the social and spiritual orders in human society. The spiritual orders are divided into 4 ashramas: Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. And the social orders, according to work and qualification, are made up of the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Shudras. These social orders, according to the different grades of work and qualification, are described in Bhagavad Gita. Now, this is a very, very important point. Unfortunately, for want of proper protection by responsible kings, the system of social and spiritual orders has now become a hereditary caste system. But this is not the actual system. So this is a very important point. For want of proper protection by responsible kings, it has now become a caste system. I was actually talking to my father about this. We had a bit of a discussion a few weeks ago that we were discussing about, the caste system and why now it's become a caste system by birth. As we all know, India has been colonized for centuries, over 1,000 years, and to protect and preserve the lineage, and to preserve our traditions, the certain measures had to be taken in order to preserve the lineage, preserve the bloodline, etc. And so it had become a hereditary caste system due to that circumstance. Obviously, we would see with Muslim rulers and with the British as well, they were trying to ethnically cleanse our Sanatan Dharma culture, try and remove every instance of Sanatan Dharma, which included this lineage, our entire lineage. We would see forced conversions in families, so the entire lineage would be broken. So how do you maintain this caste? How do you maintain the 4 divisions? At that circumstance, it had to be that you had to preserve this in whatever way you could. Hence, they had to do it by birth. If you are born of this, you are labeled as this. Obviously, now the situation is different, and therefore that's why the caste system doesn't work anymore. At least the present-day caste system doesn't. So this was a very important point, which Prabhupada also touched on, that the reason it's become a hereditary caste system now is because of the circumstances that were actually outside our control, oppressive circumstances that had forced this on us. It's not it's not something that is inherent in Sanatana Dharma, this caste system by birth. So Indian civilization, on the basis of the 4 varnas and ashramas, deteriorated because of her dependency on foreigners, or those who did not follow the civilization of varnashram. Thus, the varnashram system has now been degraded into the caste system. We see how Prabhupada makes a distinct differentiation between the varnashram system and the present-day caste system. And it's due to, as I mentioned, the foreign influence. Now, it's a very unfortunate situation, and it has been brought upon us that people associate Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma with something that has been thrust upon us, which is very wrong. And that's why this topic is very important for us to understand that what is actually our true, what is our true traditions, what is actually mentioned in the scriptures, that it's not the scriptures that are wrong here. And we have a lot that we can take from this. It's very empowering to all of us. Prabhupada mentions here further, the divisions of varnas and ashramas will continue to exist, either in their original form or in degraded form, because they're created by the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And because they're created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they cannot be extinguished. They are like the sun, a creation of God, and therefore will remain. When the varnashram system becomes degraded, it appears as a hereditary caste system. But in every society, there is an intelligent class of men, a martial class, a mercantile class, and a laborer class. When they are regulated for cooperation among communities, according to the Vedic principles, then there is peace and a spiritual advancement. But when there is hatred and malpractice and mutual mistrust in the caste system, the whole system becomes degraded. And as stated herein, it creates a deplorable state. At the present moment, the entire world is in this deplorable condition because of giving rights to so many interests. This is due to the degradation of the 4 castes of varnas and ashrams. So at the moment, we're seeing that there's a lot of discrimination between castes. It's due to this. There's no question of any Vedic principles being applied. People do not even know what qualities are associated with each of the varnas. And so how can we see politicians who are not fit for work. Anyone, there's a massive disparity between one's qualities and one's actual work being done. And this has led to this degradation. If there's someone who's a Brahmana, they should not be discriminating against anyone of the lower caste, so on and so forth, as it's not part of the quality. So that's what Prabhupada mentions malpractice and mutual mistrust in the caste system. There's no trust in, and there's no actual knowledge of Vedic principles. Otherwise, we would not, and I would not be having this, giving this as a realization, because this would be something we would already know. At least I would already know. So this was a very eye-opening thing for me, that the degradation, how far it's come. It's very sad, but it's also very important to understand. Now, moving on to my final point in the lecture, in my class, is that are there some examples of caste according to actions, which we can see now and in previous times? Obviously, it's very, these are all very important points, but are there any practical examples of this that we can see or that have been done? So I've split it into now or contemporary, and Vedic examples as well. Now, for us, relevant to us, the most obvious and the most important one for us, the most important example of caste according to actions, not birth, is the example of Srila Prabhupada going to the West and teaching his disciples how to become Brahmanas. Srila Prabhupada took our Sanatana Dharma, went to the Western world, and taught all of them how to become intelligent or high-class people. So this in itself is an example of how caste is one's actions. You see that so many devotees who are Western are pujaris in the temple. There's nothing to do with one's birth. It's just how you're acting, what you're practicing, and what you're being trained as. And also, we also see like how the quality of a Vaishya is farming or cow protection. There are so many devotees in the devotee communities that do farming and do cow protection as well. There are many devotees who do administrative work, which are also examples of being Kshatriya. There are people who, building the temple, doing labor work is also an example of, being a Shudra. So we see that Prabhupada is actually installed, is at least he has given the groundwork for us to follow the actual Varnashram system within Krishna consciousness. We are aiming to be of high intelligence. So we, in the sense, so then we obviously, we are learning the scriptures and, we're trying to become high-class, intelligent people. So that is a Brahmanical quality. In the same way, we are also, doing certain things in certain activities which are also associated with the other divisions. So here Prabhupada has actually very practically given us this old Varnashram system. I'll just refer to a Q&A that he did with a reporter, in which Prabhupada says this himself. He says, we are not introducing the caste system in that any rascal who's born in a Brahmin family, he becomes a Brahmana. We don't accept that. A man who is first class, trained up to become a Brahmana, we accept him. It doesn't matter whether he's from India or Europe or America. We are picking up first class brains and training up how to become first class people. So again, the training is what's important. He also referred to all the disciples who were there present with him at the time. He said that just like all these disciples are taking, all these boys and girls, they had their first class brain and now they're being trained up. That is required. Trained up first class men. So for us, it's very important. We are practicing this bhakti yoga, and we're practicing Krishna consciousness. Obviously, as mentioned, that it transcends this four divisions. But in order to transcend, we first have to reach a certain level, and we all by practicing bhakti yoga, by practicing our traditions, our Vedic traditions, we are actually trying to elevate our consciousness and trying to become first-class men and first-class women, as Srila Prabhupada said. So this was a very important point for me and a practical example of how Prabhupada went to the Western world who have absolutely no idea about anything to do with caste. But he proved that this Varnashram system can be applied anywhere by going to the West and teaching them how to become first-class people and first-class, first-class devotees. So that is an important example for us. Now I'll also refer to Vedic references in the Srimad Bhāgavatam of acharyas and important people who actually have the similar example. So the first one is of Lord Parashuram, or the Shakti-Avesh avatar of Lord Krishna. So this reference is from Srimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 3, verse 20. I'll just read the translation. In the 16th incarnation of the Godhead, the Lord, as Bhrigupati, annihilated the administrative class, Shattriyas, 21 times, being angry with them because of the rebellion against the Brahmanas, or the intelligent class. Although Parashuram belonged into a Brahmanical group, this is his story, that he was born into a Brahmanical family. He circumstantially had to work as a Kshatriya. So he killed Shattriyas 21 times. Now, as we see, preparedness for battle is one of the qualities for a Kshatriya. So Lord Parashuram, or actually Lord Krishna, the Kshatriya Vaishya avatar of Lord Krishna, performed Kshatriya activities. So he circumstantially had to work as a Kshatriya. Later, after finishing his work as a Kshatriya, he again became a Brahmana and returned to Mahendra Parvat. So here we can see that it's really very much dependent on your actions. Otherwise, how can one be a Brahmana, then be a Kshatriya, then be a Brahmana again? It's all according to your actions, nothing to do with what you were born into. Another important reference is of sage Vishwamitra, who I'm sure most of us know. This reference is given in Srimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 16, verse 28. For this, I'll read the verse as well as a part of the purport. Gader abun maha tejaha samidha eva pavakaha tapasakshatram udrishya yo lebe brahma varchasam. Translation, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vishwamitra, the son of Maharaj Gadi, was as powerful as the flames of fire. From the position of a Kshatriya, he achieved the position of a powerful Brahmana by undergoing penances and austerities. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now, having narrated the history of Lord Parashuram, Shukadev Goswami begins the history of Vishwamitra. From the history of Parashuram, we can understand that although Parashuram belonged to the Brahmanical group, he circumstantially had to work as a Kshatriya. Later, after finishing his work as a Kshatriya, he again became a Brahmana and returned to Mahendra Parvat. Similarly, we can see that although Vishwamitra was born in a Kshatriya family, by austerities and penances, he achieved the position of a Brahmana. These histories confirm the statements in Shastra that a Brahmana may become a Kshatriya may become a Brahmana or Vaishya, and a Vaishya may become a Brahmana by achieving the required qualities. One's status does not depend upon birth. So Prabhupada is pretty much giving all these points in this purport here, that these are the examples, the previous examples of this happening. It's not something that we're conjuring up. These are complete Shastric evidences. I'll go further. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 21, verse 21, about a person called Ajamida. Ajamido dvimidascha purumidascha hastinaha ajamidhasya vamshya shuhu priyamedha dayodvijaha. Translation. From King Hasti came three sons, namely Ajamida, Dvimida, and Purumida. The descendants of Ajamida, headed by Priyameda, all achieved the position of Brahmanas. So this Ajamida was the son of a king, King Hasti, and the descendants of Ajamida all became Brahmanas. Now, how is that possible if it's all by birth? It has to be a change in qualities. A king is a Kshatriya, but his descendants became Brahmanas. So the purport by Srila Prabhupada, once again, Srila Prabhupada is actually telling us, almost as if Prabhupada is, I always feel that when I was reading these references that Srila Prabhupada actually really, really wanted to prove this point to everyone, that, this caste system is completely wrong, what is currently there. And this is the actual Shastric evidences of it being due to actions, not by your birth. Purport. This verse gives evidence confirming the statement of Bhagavad Gita that the orders of society, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, these orders are calculated in terms of qualities and activities, or guna karma vibhagasa, as we mentioned earlier. All the descendants of Ajamida, who was a Kshatriya, became Brahmanas. This was certainly because of their qualities and activities. Similarly, sometimes the sons of Brahmanas or Kshatriyas become Vaishyas. When a Kshatriya or Brahmana adopts the occupation or duty of a Vaishya, he is certainly accounted as a Vaishya. On the other hand, if one is born as a Vaishya, by his activities, he can become a Brahmana. Just see. This is confirmed by Narad Muni. Yasya yal lakshanam proktam. I'll actually give this reference next. This will be the last reference I'll give. So this is actually also confirmed by Narad Muni. The members of the Varnas or social orders must be ascertained by their symptoms, not by birth. Birth is immaterial. Quality is essential. So we touched on this earlier. Obviously, your birth may have some influence, but it is not the outcome. Your outcome is your qualities that you exhibit. So from here we can see even all these big figures like Sage Vishwamitra, Lord Parashuram, Lord Krishna himself showing us that that your caste is determined by your actions. What more example can you have? The Narad Muni himself says that caste is according to actions. Now, actually, because this is such a amazing verse, amazing reference, I'll read the verse and I'll read parts of the purport, which are very important. I hope it's easy to keep up. There's quite a lot of references here, but I really wanted to, put forth the point that there's so much Vedic support for this. So this reference of Narad Muni comes from Srimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 11, verse 35. Yasya yal lakshanam proktam pumso varna bhivyan kajam yad anyatrapi drishyeta tatteneva vinir dishet. Translation. This is Narada Muni speaking, by the way. If one shows the symptoms of being a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, as described above, even if he has appeared in a different class, he should be accepted according to those symptoms of classification. So Narada Muni is straight to the point here. So the purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Herein it is clearly stated by Narada Muni that one should not be accepted as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra according to birth. For although this is going on now, it is not accepted by the Shastras. Boom. It's straight there. There's nothing much you can say to argue against it here. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant to develop these Brahmanical qualities. This is what Srila Prabhupada says, that the Krishna consciousness movement is meant for the purpose of developing our Brahmanical qualities. So Prabhupada has also said, as we heard in chapter 4, verse 13, that once practicing bhakti yoga, it transcends all this 4 divisions. But as we mentioned, that we have to reach a certain stage before elevating ourselves above this platform. We have to reach a Brahmanical stage and achieve Brahmanical qualities. And these actions of deity worship, these actions of being spiritually inclined, are of being a Brahmana itself. So they do go hand in hand. But if we want to reach Lord Krishna, and if we want to achieve love of Godhead, obviously we are not affected by what is affected by the 3 modes of material nature. As Krishna says, that the 4 divisions are based on our interactions with the 3 modes of material nature. If we want to be of a spiritual nature, we have no interaction with the 3 modes of material nature. So we don't come under any social class. But for us to reach that level, we first have to reach first have to become an intelligent class of person. So Prabhupada here says, in designating a person, or Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, birth is not the essential symptom. This understanding is very important. Herein Narada Muni distinctly says that one may be accepted according to the caste of his birth if he has the corresponding qualifications. As I mentioned, that your birth may be an influence on the outcome. So if you have the qualifications that you had being born into a certain family, then it's validated, then it's fine. But otherwise, he should not. You cannot be accepted as caste according to birth if you do not perform those qualifications. One who has attained the qualifications of a Brahmana, regardless of where he was born, should be accepted as a Brahmana. Similarly, if one has developed the qualities of a Shudra or a Chandala, regardless of where he is born, he should be accepted in terms of those symptoms. So I'm not sure what more I can add here. That Narada Muni and Srila Prabhupada themselves are saying that this is according to your actions, not according to your birth. So just before I finish my lecture, not lecture once again, sorry, before I finish my class, I also really wanted to touch on the point that there is no discrimination of castes in the olden times. In the actual Varnashram Dharma, there is no discrimination. And this is actually given, there's a very nice purport which Prabhupada has written based on a Srimad Bhāgavatam verse, which is Canto 3, Chapter 6, verse 30. And that each division, each social class division, is a part of a body of a metaphorical gigantic form. Each social class forms part of a body. And this is something that my father also told me, which I also found very interesting. So I'd actually like to read the purport. Because of time, I'll skip the verse itself. So I'll read the translation first, sorry. O chief of the Kuru dynasty, the Vedic wisdom became manifested from the mouth of the Virat, the gigantic form. Those who are inclined to this Vedic knowledge are called Brahmanas, and they are the natural teachers and spiritual masters of all the orders of society. So here already there's a mention of the mouth being the Brahmanas. Now we'll take this actual metaphor, we'll take it further. Srila Prabhupada takes it further here. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I'll just read through this quite quickly because of time. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 13, which was Chaturvarnya Maya Shishtam, the four orders of human society develop with the order of the body of the gigantic form. The bodily divisions are the mouth, arms, waist, and legs. Those who are situated on the mouth are called Brahmanas. Those who are situated on the arms are called Shattriyas. Those who are situated on the waist are called Vaishyas. And those who are situated on the legs are called Shudras. This is actually a proper system. Prabhupada here says, everyone is situated in the body of the Supreme in his gigantic Vishwarupa form. So this form here is actually not a metaphor. Sorry, it's the Vishwarupa form of the Lord. So everyone is part and parcel of Lord Krishna. And this is what is being stated here. In terms of the four orders, therefore, no caste is to be considered degraded because of being situated on a particular part of the body. So no caste, regardless of if you're low, regardless of if you're high, should be considered to be degraded. In our own bodies, we do not show any actual difference in our treatment towards the hands or legs. Each and every part of the body is important. So in the same way, there should be no discrimination towards Shudras if you're a Brahmana or if you're anyone, because everyone, it's all part of the, we're all part and parcel of Lord Krishna. And everyone is situated in the Vishwarupa form of the Lord. So Prabhupada says, each and every part of the body is important, although the mouth is the most important of the bodily parts. So here, we understand that the mouth, being the Brahmanas, is the most important. We also mentioned, I think, here it says in the translation that those who are inclined to this Vedic knowledge are called Brahmanas. Now, what we are doing here in our programs, what we are doing in following or trying to follow this Krishna consciousness is we are learning how to properly become or achieve Brahmanical qualities, how to become Brahmanas, and ultimately how to achieve love of Godhead. So we are cultivating ourselves, at least I'm trying to cultivate myself towards becoming an intelligent class, towards reaching that position. And then we will have the tools, and then we will have the knowledge with which we can try and remember Lord Krishna and engage properly in devotional service in a bona fide way. Without this understanding of Varnashram, of true Varnashram, there won't be any footing by which we can practice our devotional service. So we have to understand where we have to go, and we have to understand the path through which we can take it. So that is my realizations on the caste system actually being due to one's actions, not due to one's birth, supported by Vedic Shastric references as well. So yes, thank you very much, Hare Krishna. Sorry for taking quite a long time here, but if anyone has any questions or any comments that they would like to say, or even if any adjustments in my realization, any corrections, that would be very much appreciated. And thank you everyone very much for allowing me to speak. And Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Samarpana, Krishna Prabhu. Thank you very much. It was very elaborate, and you had to move very fast, which you did, and covered quite a bit of topics. So I'll keep the floor open now if you have any questions. If you'd like to ask anything or clarify things or correct him, please feel free. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Samarpana, Krishna Prabhu. Thank you very much for your very wonderful class. I think there is quite a lot of references that you shared. In particular, actually, where you mentioned that Srila Prabhupada made a statement that this social order systems that we just discussed is actually created by Krishna, and at any point it cannot be actually destroyed or removed. It will stay, even as a degraded form, it continue to exist. So, and what we said that actually the society's class according to their actually quality or type of work they do. So that is actually a real system, but today it's degraded, especially means that's normally that we see in India by birth. But even actually in Western world, we see actually all those qualities of work being done. But they actually, if suppose some people actually working in an administrative class, still means they are not actually acting according to the injunction of Vedas. Are they still to be considered like Kshatriyas, or they have to actually follow the prescribed duties what is mentioned under one ashram system to be actually, considered as a Kshatriya?
Hare Krishna, Sridhar Prabhu. Thank you very much for your very nice question. It's actually a very, very important question. That are they still considered as part of the Varnashram system? Can they actually still be considered as Kshatriya, even if in a degraded form? I'd like to also invite other people to, other devotees to share their realizations on this. From what I understand is that that even in the degraded form, if you are performing some activities, as we mentioned in chapter 18, let me just go back to that really quickly. So here it's mentioned that heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. Now, due to a degraded form, if there are certain people in work, let's say, who are in an administrative position, but they may not be actually, naturally inclined to that position, then, they cannot be considered, Kshatriyas, or they're, to an extent, they're Dvija Bandhu, where they're in a high class position, but they're not performing those actions. However, if someone is, say they're naturally inclined towards a certain position or certain job, and they're doing that, from what I've understood in these verses here, these are all nothing to do with actual spiritual understanding. That these are all qualities that people have inherently within them, or which they develop, regardless of the spiritual order. That division is assigned to them. So regarding your question, if they're in an administrative position, and if they're actually performing actions that are justified in their administrative position, if they're performing, let's say they're resourceful, if they show leadership qualities, then I guess I would, from my understanding, I would say that they are exhibiting Kshatriya-like qualities. So they can be considered a Kshatriya. Otherwise, even Srila Prabhupada getting Krishna consciousness to the West showed that anyone can become a Brahmana. At the same time, if we take that there would have already been existing people who are of the lower class, or of Kshatriyas, Shudras, Vaishyas, etc., because they will be performing not so intelligent types of work. Srila Prabhupada brought them towards performing a more intelligent type of work, because Brahmanas obviously require that spiritual inclination. Whereas with people performing administrative or labor work, etc., it's more like, you would be able to consider them as a Vaishya, Shudra, Kshatriya. So that is what I understand, Prabhuji. I hope I haven't confused you or anything. But if anyone else would, and if you would like to add your own realizations on this as well, it'd be very nice. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Prabhu. You have really given a very good class. You have given a lot of practical examples how our scriptures refer to these things, and what is the scriptures and what's not happening in the modern society. So it's a point to be debated. It's real, and it's not only India, actually everywhere. The body recognition, what caste you are, where you are situated, and all this is how the whole community, actually whole world is working. That's why you are fighting. You are not this body, you are so they are fighting all over the place. So that's a very good point you have raised, and very nicely covered also. So, and also I see that as Srila Prabhu also mentioned that, and you also mentioned in your class, that you don't automatically become a lawyer or an engineer or somebody unless you have that quality. So this system actually exists, but it is not recognized. Or whatever, even in the professional life, unless you qualify for that job, you are not selected. You don't get that designation. You don't become some manager or whatever. So we are using that philosophy for our sense gratification kind of thing. But when it comes to application or spiritual things or some other things, you are Brahman, you are not Brahman, and in the whole political system is actually working on that philosophy people have actually got into. So my question, and it may be probably even it's not very clear to me, which is a relevant question, and it's very close to your father's heart also, which I am also trying to understand, that if the system which Brahman, Kshatriya, Varna, and Shudra and Vaishya has actually, somehow the system is prevalent based on that, the whole society is working at the moment. Whole world is working, even the elections and everything. So politics, I mean. So what is the alternative? I understand that Prabhupada went to establish that Brahmanical culture. That only one part of the entire Varna system. So what is the ideal situation? What should we do to actually create that Varna system in the modern world? I know it's impossible. It cannot be done because we are so much engraved and we have very small life also. So what is the actually ideal situation where this kind of society actually exists? I don't know. This is my problem, genuine situation. How that should work, how that can happen.
Hare Krishna, Avinash Prabhu. Thank you very much for your kind words, and also the very important question. And it's a question that actually came about. Me and my father were discussing the same thing, that in present day society, particularly if we look at the example of, say, ISKCON, which Srila Prabhupada established this Varnashram system in ISKCON, and he trained everyone to become Brahmanas. But even within that system, if people are not inclined towards becoming Brahmanas, if they do not develop these qualities, where do they fit in this Varnashram system? How can you then designate them into certain things? So actually, I'd actually also like to ask my father to come in here, because this is, as you said, something that's close to his heart very much. So I can't really speak for that properly. But from what I understand, is that this is something that should have been established after Srila Prabhupada's disappearance. That the actual true understanding of what Srila Prabhupada wanted to create is that actual system. So Prabhupada took everyone to become Brahmanas, regardless of their level. At the same time, as we mentioned, that there are devotees who perform Vaishya-like, qualities, etc. So they may do cow protection, they may do farming, etc., etc. They may be doing, fundraising, or collecting funds, administration, etc. But there's no like real defined divisions here. Ultimately, it's that the Brahman initiation must be taken, and that defines your progress. But if you're still performing Krishna consciousness, and you may not be inclined, so to speak, where do you fit in? So that's actually quite a very good question. I'm not sure if I'm able to answer it, but I'm just echoing your sentiment here. So I'd like to ask my father to jump in and give his realization. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Yes, this is a question which has not been answered by all the devotees in ISKCON and everywhere around the world. They all are scratching their heads. Srila Prabhupada had said before just departure that only 50% of the work is done. Remaining 50% is remaining, where Srila Prabhupada wanted to establish Varnashram system. And Prabhupada said it is best that we go back 200 years to establish this. Now, it is very hard for people to understand. Pash, go back 200 years, I will be without my mobile phone, I cannot go back 20 years back, it's too much for me. But the thing is this, that Varnashram system is established, was existing, and should be established so that all kinds of people with all intelligence levels can go back to Godhead. And it is fitted in with one's work. This is very important to understand. There is now a disconnect between our work that we do and going back to Godhead that we do. So the physical work which maintains our body in our family had to be connected with going back to Godhead, which today doesn't exist. You are a lawyer, you cannot go back to Godhead being a lawyer. You are a doctor, you can't go back, You are a marketing man, you will be marketing what, So there's a disconnect. And that is the problem. So that's why Prabhupada wanted it. Now for having Varnashram, we require a set group of people who would go outside or from the society. They move out from the society, create their own society in a piece of land where there are Brahmanas who will be doing Brahmanical work, not working, but dependent upon other Varnas for their livelihood. Then Kshatriyas will be maintaining the society, collecting taxes. There will be a king who will, there to make sure things are done properly. And there will be Vaishyas who will be then doing cow protection, farming. And then there will be Shudras who will be working for Vaishyas and Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. How would this work? India had that. And as Guru Maharaj said, that we had seen it. I have seen it, Maharaj said, in my childhood, my life. And everything was very peaceful. So it's a challenge. There are many devotee communities who have been set up, who have gone out of the cities, have made farm communities, but it is farm communities. It's not Varnashram. And then with that, you have to have a structure of children who are born. They are born with brahmacharis, girls, and then there is grihastha, after that vanaprastha, sannyasa. So it's a big circle to finish. How would you do that in one life cycle? So I think that's a dream which many of Srila Prabhupada's disciples also would leave their bodies with. And I really don't know whether they are really keen to do it. how keen they will be, we don't know. Because again, in Varnashram system, the concept of money is not there. Because I remember many years ago when devotees were discussing this point about Varnashram and a very, very, gung-ho about it. I said, well, it was on barter system. And he said, is it? I said, yeah. It was barter. So how it worked was that if there is a weaver or a carpenter or a builder in the community, he says, okay, you build my house. He goes to a Vaishya. Vaishya says, you build my house and I will give you 10, 5 kilos of, or 10 kilos or 100 kilos of this vegetables to your family. It's a barter system. Skills are given. So Prabhupada also said that we should have actually skill-based teaching. Prabhupada tried to establish that you should learn life skills. Now, again, our job, what life skill have we got? Yeah, I'm an accountant or I'm a marketing person. What life skill have you got? If you are living on off land, can my marketing degree help me live off the land? How to make a board, how to make a chair, how to make a bed, No, that's why I'm doing my gardening now. Let's do something at least before I die, Something else. So Prabhupada wanted that. Use your hands to do practical. So it is very close to my heart. It's very close to many devotees' heart, but there is no answer. But to establish this, we require a set of group of people who are willing to be dedicating their lives, who are to give up everything and live in a separate community under some leadership, and then they do it. And then there is, again, Brahman, the Varnas we can understand. But again, the Brahmanas, the Brahmacharyas, the Grahastha, the Vanaprastha and the Sannyas. How? And we have got so many difficulties with the Dalas, the girl, the boy, the children. Gurukul is closed down. Such a big case, $400 million case was filed against ISKCON for the abuse of the children. So where are we? A very unfortunate situation. So it's not existing. But what we can do is this: the one thing it can be done, and it should be done, that every one of us, if we look inwards, is mainly for men. Women, they carry the varna of their husbands, whether women like it or not. Nowadays, I know there's he woman, she woman, and they go conquering the world. It doesn't happen. You see a small fly, they run away from the fly. So cockroach, they run away. Cockroach! But there they show they're killing things. So the one thing can happen is that we look at within ourselves and see where are we. Have we got Brahmanical traits? Have we got Vaishya traits? Kshatriya traits? And whichever traits we are in, we should be settled in that trait. Because we're all mixed right now. We're very much mixed right now. But I can see some devotees are there, they're Brahmanical. So right now Brahman cannot do anything except to worship God. If it does like this, it's finished, man. So they go and they do some farming somewhere, no? They do that when they maintain their minimum things without much fancy. So this we can see within ourselves. And that's how we can protect. And I remember talking to a devotee just a few months ago. I said, I'm trying to farm. It's very hard for me to do this. All this is very new, He said, no, but you are doing this preaching, Not everybody can do this. So he was talking to me about your skill set, which is a Kshatriya skill set in this situation, So at least with that in mind, I believe, and Bhagavad Gita also says, if we settle, even our bhakti, if we settle into the varna that we are in, ashram can keep going, we can keep changing. But the varna can be done if we have got, then at least individual level we will be satisfied. Because if a Brahmana person starts to do Kshatriya work, administration is finished. And there's another big difficulty within our society of ISKCON and all that. You've got Vaishya mentality people doing deity worship. Deity worship is simple. That's not Brahmanical work. That's one part of it, of doing deity worship, of decoration of deities and beautiful and all those things. That's one part. Main thing is that Patan means study of scripture. Patan means teaching people the study. Here, you're not doing anything. Similarly, that the head of different departments don't have Brahma Kshatriya qualities. So they politics there. They don't know what to do. They're baffled by things. So maintain the chair. So Kali Yuga has got its very downward effect. And that's the reason why Krishna did not allow Prabhupada to establish Varnashram. It would have been, just see here, without that, devotees are not prepared for it. What happened, Prabhupada departure, was very disastrous for ISKCON. So the reason why I took this time is that we understand this, that it's a very frustrating point, but at least within us, we must spend time to understand, where am I? Don't falsely say I'm a Vaishya. Everybody does some business, some buying some shares, I'm a Vaishya. Buying this, I buy some properties, I'm a Vaishya. I buy some this, I'm a Vaishya. That's not Vaishya. Yeah, there's Vaishya qualities, yes, but you're not Vaishya. That's not Vaishya. Vaishya is Krishi Gorakshan. Two most important thing. Krishi means farming, Gorakshan means cow protection. Yeah, so, and it's going to be more and more complicated. That's why only Srila Prabhupada's books will give us some solace. And if within us what qualities we have got, if we know, then at least we will not fool ourselves to do things. That's why I say that we become preachers. Preacher is not qualities of Brahmana. He can teach, but to organize things, manage people, strategize things is not Brahmana's qualities. It's Kshatriya quality. Now here you may be Kshatriya quality, Brahmana quality, business quality, whichever quality, but in your way to preach the message, you'll be engaged. That's the whole point. So far nobody's got this answer. And this whole answer I gave is all the frustration, all the question marks only that are raised. And there are no answers. There are no answers. Because you require some one person, there will be hundreds of people following that one person blindly. Not blindly, means he should be so nice, they can do it. Leave everything and go. And then dedicate their whole life and their children's life. So we have lost that opportunity so far. Because the first generation is lost with abuse. First generation is devotees also have lost, so many gone, who are supposed to be trained up. So, but anyway, things are moving, that's very positive. And more people are devotees are coming. So maybe in the future something may happen. May Third World War happen and people will be frustrated, they go back to things. Krishna has his plans. And somebody may sit down and read Prabhupada's books, everything and say, let's do it, man. Outside world is, Prabhupada said, the most important thing Prabhupada said is that outside world, people are going to come to us. We should leave the farm, the cities, and go towards farms, establish farm communities. A day is going to come where people are going to be from cities are going to run away and come to farms. So they should see what we are doing, and then they'll join us nicely. There's not much, not happening so much. Well, that's more questions to you. You added some questions, I added more questions. Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you, Prabhuji. Yes, I probably just wanted to read. Probably I wanted to just wanted to reaffirm, means not much changing. It's a very dangerous situation to be living, because that's how it is. And and as you said, Krishna has his own plans. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Krishna Prabhu. You actually got such a nice class given today. Thank you very much.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So I think we have overshot our time with the question answer was such. So we'll finish our class today now. Thank you very much, Krishna Prabhu, once again for your class. Now we will be disconnecting our YouTube channel now and connecting again in about 20 seconds. We will come back to you with our beginners program. Okay. Hare Krishna. Krishna Das, would you like to sing Jai Radha Madhava? Or just sing Hare Krishna Mahamantra? So you sang Jai Radha Madhava. Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Thank you very much.